In this video, I want to talk about underestimation. How much we underestimate everything. How much we underestimate the effort we have to put in to get the results we want. How much we underestimate how much we are distracted right now and how much that distraction is taking us away from the life that we want to live. How much we are underestimating just how serious we have to be to actually get some results, and especially to get the results that we're really after. If it was easy to win this battle, in terms of the battle of getting from where you are right now to getting to where you want to go, achieving all of your goals, achieving all your desires, living your dreams. If it was easy, you would have already won. You would have already had the result. You would have already attained it. But if you're like many, then you haven't attained all of your results that you're after. You haven't yet acquired what you right now admire. And then so you have to think, how much are you underestimating this whole entire process? More often than not, we are massively undershooting just how serious we have to be. And really, as long as you can always underscore an adequate amount of seriousness, then the rest will take care of itself. As long as you can underscore the right amount of seriousness, of intention, of what you want, you will naturally start to actually use your time effectively. You'll naturally start to schedule things in. You'll naturally make sacrifices. You will naturally rid yourself of all of distraction. Distractions is a really tricky one. I think a lot of us massively underestimate just how much we are distracted. And we underestimate just how much output we could actually create, we can actually produce. I noticed that, I was contemplating about me having my ADHD and struggling to focus, and I've noticed that a lot of the times it's never really a focus problem. It's always an interest problem and a morale problem. And a lot of that comes from really a massive underestimation of just the satisfaction and how great it would be to be living that kind of life. A lot of times, it's very difficult to imagine even what you want, because unless you've lived it, you don't know exactly what it feels like, unless you actually have that direct experience. I find this very interesting. And of course, once you have that direct experience, you'll know how to get there again and again if you ever fall off. And it's interesting to see people that would have a baseline of being massively successful, and even if they lose it, they know how much they enjoyed that success, and they'll work to really hard to get it back. We tend to work really hard for standards that we set for ourselves, right? And my question is, what standard are you setting for yourself right now? And that's a hard one to say if you don't yet have the results you want. It's almost a better bias to actually overshoot the amount of work and effort you have to put in every day rather than undershoot. Because how do you know how much effort you have to put in every single day if you do not yet have the results you want? Because it's so hard to just match success up with a timeline, especially when you're doing something new, especially when you're doing something creative. You can benchmark certain things, but as long as you ground yourself in the process, it's most important to not worry about the timeline there. But a lot of us underestimate how long it will take, because, how do I put this? A lot of us think the success is coming way faster than it actually is coming, simply because we underestimate just how much work that is required. There's books written around this kind of topic, with the 10x rule, for example. Just take the amount of effort that you will take and 10x that. Simple idea, can get you a lot of results. Right now in this video, what's important for me to cover is that I want you to understand and introspect. I want you to think about, what right now in my life am I underestimating? Am I underestimating how much my time is being taken away from distractions? Am I underestimating how I'm shooting myself in the foot with a lack of routine? Am I underestimating just how much time I am wasting in general? Am I underestimating how much effort is required to get the success that I want? Because the thing is that if we set the wrong expectations, we're going to expect a whole lot for a whole little, most of the time. Especially since a lot of us have been indoctrinated into a culture of getting it quick, getting it easy, and getting it fun. What in your life right now are you underestimating? Are you underestimating how much time and how much work and how much struggle it's going to take to actually get yourself to commit to the habits that you know that you need to commit to? A very common thing that people underestimate is how much time it takes to change themselves. We will make some great strides. We will act as how we want to act for, let's say, several months at a time, working out every day or whatever. And then something happens in life, or just naturally, they snap back to doing all the bad habits of video games and whatnot, and the coping goes down. What's happening there? That's homeostasis. And a lot of times people don't understand that, and they expect it's just going to be constant upward trajectory. And for a lot of things, you can maintain that as far as growing yourself, but the pain is very high. But in practice, most people are not going to have that. In practice, you're gonna oscillate. You're gonna take 5 steps forward and 1 step back, 2 steps forward and 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. The trend is going to be upward, but it's going to take a lot longer than you can ever imagine. This line of thinking of how we underestimate things can go along the lines of also permanently solving problems. Where, for example, one problem that I want to solve is my distractions in relations to my phone usage, for example. So one way I'm going to do that, and I have been doing that, is I've been reading several books on related topics. like Digital Minimalism, Indistractable, and also books on just getting focused in general, like Hyperfocus, and even books on how dopamine works, like The Molecule of More. And the aim is that by the time I finish reading and implementing all these books, to look at where I started before I started reading all that stuff and implementing it, just to see that difference and just to see how much I've permanently solved this issue of being distracted on the phone, for example. Just because I chose to make it a bigger problem in my mind, make it more important in my mind. Because so many of us will massively underestimate just how much, for example, getting distracted on the phone, how big of a problem it is in our everyday lives. And a lot of us don't even have really a philosophy of a disgust behind such large amounts of volume of phone usage. As you actually have to make a massive amount of effort to develop your own philosophy around your technology use. But then once you've actually made that construct, then you're actually much more well equipped to use these devices in a healthy manner. And you're actually able to set a boundary in a healthy manner. But that starts with questioning your initial estimation of how much your phone has been distracting you. Most people massively, extremely underestimate their phone usage. Even just the way they use it, even if it's productive, if they're using it in ways, for example, like checking email, where it's like a bottomless pit of God knows how many, doing that like just whenever it comes in or throughout the day, rather than just setting a specific time during the day. And there's studies, of course, as well as how many minutes it takes to get yourself refocused. Your attention residue is being spilled everywhere. Stuff like that, even. And let's not get started on the notifications. So that's a really good thing to think about. How much are you underestimating how much your phone is negatively impacting your life, or how your use of technology, video games? How much are you underestimating the amount of work required to have a healthy body? How much you have to work out, and also how much work required to get like a very fit, ripped body. The nutrition required, the amount of comprehension of your macronutrients required, measuring ingredients and planning and only buying certain ingredients and not putting certain things in your food. How much do you underestimate how serious you have to be to actually get what you want in this world? As I've said in a previous episode, reality is competing for your attention at all times. And a useful way to look at your purpose in life and your hopes and dreams is like a little glimmer, a little spark that is about to be easily extinguished in a sea of shit, a sea of sewage. The sewage being all of reality trying to impose its will on you in the form of people, objects, vices, your own needs to survive, work, right? You have to hold on to that ember. And you have to work a massive amount to actually nurture that ember and stoke it into a large flame. A lot of us massively underestimate just how much work and dedication and focus it will take to actually create your own dream job. What if it took everything and then more? It's not something that you can do on the side, for example. You have to pursue it full-time and double full-time. Where to the point where you're just thinking about it every single day. How serious are you right now about, for example, setting yourself free from wage slavery? How serious is it in your mind? There's that saying where it's like hustling like an immigrant. There's a reason why, for example, an immigrant is going to have more motivation. It's going to be more serious. Because if they don't work, for example, someone fresh off the boat with no money, if they don't work, you're not going to be able to eat. And a lot of times we can massively underestimate just how much our creature comforts around us has massively domesticated us and has not made us hungry in any form of the word. All we got to do is walk to the fridge to eat something, and we can eat something with high sugar. What if you can only eat until you completed all your tasks in that day? That kind of thing. What if you can only eat if you actually produced a freaking result and you didn't procrastinate and you did the emotionally difficult things? Simple as that. I think we massively underestimate just how motivated we can become. We massively underestimate how much our environment is pulling us down to a homeostasis. This is especially true, for example, when you live with your parents and you haven't yet moved out. And then even when you move out, like, how are your roommates? What even is the energy of your roommates? Are your roommates playing video games all day? Are they successful? Are they go-getters? Are they running businesses? It's memeified. Like, literally, who is in your circle? And that's incredibly important. And do you have relationships around you that are, where people don't care about you progressing more than being nice to you or being your friend? One of the most overpowered ways to self-actualize and change yourself and learn is to put yourself in a new environment, which means that if you don't understand that, you massively underestimate just how much an environment change can do for you, just what even it can do for you. This is also true if you haven't even lived in a different city, let alone a different house and all that stuff as well. The energy we underestimate just how we feel from day to day, just with the energy we receive from people, the people's moods. There's like a whole cultural zeitgeist going on, different zeitgeists, different spirits of a collective spirit of how people operate just when you move from one city to the next, one province, one state to the next. And we massively underestimate just how much that affects us. We massively underestimate how much our results with men, how much it results with women are influenced by the city that you live in. And also, we massively underestimate the amount of work required and how many people you'd have to talk to per week to actually A, build social skills, and B, find someone worthwhile. For example, it wouldn't be out of place to say something like, if you were really serious about trying to get a girlfriend, one of the best ways you can do that is by moving to a city where there is way more people and the nightlife and day life is way more alive and vibrant and people are more positive or whatever. And you're approaching at least 100 women a week. And yeah, like in the 3 digits per week. That's a huge underestimation. We massively underestimate just how much effort it takes to become someone that is attractive, to become someone that is interesting, to become someone that is developed, successful in all domains and forms. The funny one is we can massively underestimate how much work is required to take care of a pet. We can massively underestimate how much work is required to put in a YouTube video, or into writing a book, or into creating a course or a product, or into developing your speaking skill, or just in developing your mind, or in developing your study habits. I think I've made another talk on this about this point where it all leads to just be fucking patient. Because really, patience is key. And how do you cultivate that patience? Is simply knowing that you are doing absolutely everything you can to create the life you want, and you're not distracting yourself in petty ways. And I think to finish off here, maybe, is that we massively underestimate how mediocre we've become by looking at everybody else around us. This is the crux of just how much we underestimate everything. We massively underestimate how much we could be simply because we only base our knowledge set off of what we see and what we understand. And what we understand is a web of constructs created from our direct experience. And so if our direct experience is nothing but a bunch of mediocre people, then we're going to think that's the normal. But in reality, that is mediocrity. And it takes a true visionary to be able to see that and to actually set a standard for yourself. To actually design your life in such a way that you're using as close to as possible 100% of your time towards furthering the goals that you've set after for yourself and creating the life that you want. Because what is there to do in life? But it seems like the only thing to do in life is to exclusively do things that you want to do. And a lot of times it doesn't line up with what you like to do, or what other people are doing, or what other people seem normal. But then you just look around you. What kind of results are these people getting? Look at the amount of effort you see in other people that they're putting towards their life purpose, creating projects, or how much they're distracted. Just look at what results they have. And do you want those results? And that'll be your simple, easy answer. Do not underestimate how much more serious you have to be, how much more focused, how much more dedicated, how much more on point, how much more disciplined you have to be, how much more spirit you need to invigorate in every single moment of every single day of your life. Because now you have to set your own benchmark. You can't look to anyone else. You can look at the greats, the famous people that have what you acquired, what you admired. Sure. But in the day-to-day, practically, it's setting your standard to the highest that you can achieve and then aiming to see how you can even go higher. So with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. Hopefully, you get to understand a little bit more about what I mean by how much we underestimate absolutely everything in life. And I'll just finish off with another one is how much we underestimate how difficult and how much work it is to become enlightened. That is one more. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.